On Eliahi Priest.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
We meet again.
Yeah.
Deja vu.
Old Dusty Bogan at every rally.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see you, mate. Thank you. Yeah.
So we're here at the anti-safe school rally, Brisbane.
Yep.
Mate, another rad speech.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. Yeah, I mean, I had to yell pretty loud because we had, I don't even give them the courtesy of calling them Antifa. I just call them the masked bandits.
Yeah.
Or the bandana bandits.
Yeah.
And they don't have any logic, coherent logic. They're just George Soros puppets getting paid $200 a day. They actually admitted to being paid $200 by George Soros today.
Yeah?
Yeah, one of the One Nation guys came over and spoke to me, and he said that one of the masked bandits told him they were getting $200 to show up today.
Mate, where's my money, huh?
Yeah.
No one's paying old Dusty.
No, they Marxists and socialists are easy to control because they require state intervention.
Yeah.
So that's why they're trying to push us more towards the left. So.
I reckon the energy, the funny thing is, every time these Antifa guys come, it's like you feel the energy. It kind of boosts it up, and then you're like, dude, you're making it more fun for us.
Oh, absolutely. They show everyone else watching on social media that there is a conflict here. One of the points I made at the end of the day was that these lefties, that this whole Marxist transgender, gender fluid ideology isn't actually left. It's actually a narrative developed by a deep state that doesn't really care about the left and the right, I believe. That the globalists themselves have a vested interest in keeping the left and the right warring, because then we're actually not looking at those accountable in our government who are running our country, who are throwing petrol on this fire by doing things like a plebiscite for gay marriage. Now, I think we can all agree most people who voted no, including myself, to the gay marriage are not against homosexuals, and to a point, I'm actually not even against homosexual marriage. What I was against is the larger picture. And what I am against is the larger picture that the follow-on from this gay marriage is now, now we need to have gender fluidity in our schools. Now we can't have a gender on our driver's licence. And all of these ripple effects and flow-on effects when really the vote was just about gay marriage. Had I'm sure they told the nation what the vote was really about, we would have had an overwhelming no vote. But you look at the corporate media and the politicians and Coca-Cola and Nike and all of the big companies were all doing yes on big billboards. So, people are largely open to media programming and the popular vote, because of the media, won on this occasion. And whilst, as I said, gay marriage, let them get married, let them do what they want to do in their bedroom. This is a democracy. There's a big difference between the bedroom and the classroom.
Amen.
But they think it's the same bloody thing.
Yeah. It's just a bit gone too far. It's like it was the thin end of the wedge, wasn't it, the gay vote? And that's what I said. That's how I got into this stuff, because I was sort of like, hang on a minute. Everyone was saying it. Hang on a minute. This is the thin end of the wedge, mate, and this is just the start of a whole lot of other things in the same line.
Yeah.
And for me, I think why I oppose it, I think we need to teach kids. We need to have kids. We should be promoting family anyway.
Agreed.
I think I look at my family tree, and it was always a man and a woman. That's how the family tree
100%.
grows. So
Yep.
for me, it's like, I just want a culture where my kids would be like, hang on, little ones, I really want to be a granddad. I want to be a great granddad. You can only do it. It's man and woman to create that baby.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
100%. And these
family.
children are being denied the right to their biological parents before they're even old enough to have a chance.
the new stolen generation, mate.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look, in some cases, medical intervention is really important so that a couple can have children. But now what's happening is that children are becoming a commodity. And we're commercialising, there's a market for children now. Because we're now making the traditional role two women or two men, or even further than that, multiple couples and polygamy, which hasn't come in yet, but they're pushing it, or even further than that, a man that's become a woman and a woman that's become a man. I mean, that's confusing for adults. How are kids going to get their head around this gender-breed theory nonsense? It creates a confused society, and that's exactly what the globalists want. They want a weak, uneducated, confused society because it's easier to control. Yeah.
And I guess like this is just one part of the whole world going like I look at media and I think like sex sells.
Yeah.
So they're selling everything we're buying. It's sexualized.
Yeah.
Everyone knows sex sells because you're like gets you hooked, gets you interested. All right. So it's sex sells. We're over sexualized in our advertisement.
Yeah.
We see it to sell video, movies and TV shows. Well, there's got to be sex in there. And the sad thing is now it's like I watch these shows and I'm like, it's not actually sex. It's adultery.
Yeah.
It's the guy cheating on his missus or the missus
time.
cheating on the guy. It's not just two people hooking up or meeting.
What we'll find, with the sex sells is that what we've had is a regulation and rating system. So we've got G-rated, PG, M, MA, R, and X-rated films and television. And there's a rating system for a reason. And I think what the left forgets, there's no ratings on this curriculum. There's no ratings on this education. It's like they're making MA and R-rated content now suitable for 9-year-olds. They're talking, and this is disgusting. I don't even like talking about it, and I'm always careful kids being around when I say it, but they want to make analingus a topic of discussion for minors. And we're talking single-digit age kids.
It's crazy, man.
What?
I didn't know any of this stuff when I was
And
a
I've
kid.
seen-
I was
I didn't-
just a kid.
Yeah.
I just grew up. I,
I'm
wasn't
talking
sexualized.
about the curriculum I've seen. This is in the curriculum
What the hell,
that I
man?
saw from Political Posting Mama. She put it on her
she's
platform.
onto it.
Big shout out to Political Posting Mama. She's been a huge giant in getting this information out there. But this is the tip of the iceberg. We're growing stronger every day, and it took Antifa and these LGBTQ, RXWYZ crowd decades to grow their movement to the size that it is today.
Yeah.
And they weren't even very big today, and they have to get paid to show up. Everyone showed up here today not because they were being paid, but because they love their kids. And these university mass bandits are actually kids themselves. They don't have any real world experience. They've probably hardly even travelled. Most of them have probably hardly even held a job. They're gone from school to university, and all of a sudden they become indoctrinated and think they're saviours of the planet. They've got no rational or critical thought. They're literally just lobotomised
Just
bots.
young minds that
Yeah.
are getting easily influenced by the
Exactly.
professors or whatever's
And they talk
going
about
on.
love is love. I haven't met a more hateful group. Where's the love?
Yeah, it's
You
full
know,
on, man.
it is.
And I think it's crazy. I'm sure these people are like multiculturalism. But hang on a minute. If I'm a conservative Christian, do I have a place in your multicultural world?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, you don't. You
And I think we
racist
have
bigot.
seen the marginalisation of white men. We are the hated. Apparently, we're a minority these days. And there are no systems of support in our government for white men anymore. We are a hated species. And really, it's white men who traditionally have been the brunt of the industrial society. And now we're being hated for it. Now, I'm all for equality. I mean, I love my wife to bits and respect her, and we completely have that equal respect, and I don't have any superiority complexes when it comes to femininity or women. But at the same time, we don't have to be inferior just because we're white men. Yeah. And that's what they want. That's what the feminists want. That's what the left wants. And that's what they're afraid of, because we are actually quite powerful. It's been us who went to war. It's been us who forged the Industrial Revolution. It's been us who built these buildings here we saw. And I'm all for strong females, don't get me wrong, but by and large, it was us that put us on the map. It's an inconvenient truth, and that's not being racist or sexist or discriminatory. That's just historical fact.
Yeah, it's historical fact, and we look at the facts, and yes, there's mistakes being made, but also out of the mistakes, that's when people say, "Hang on a minute, we're ending slavery, we're
100%.
bringing in all these common law."
And that's where sometimes
things.
The left, I believe, has a point, and this is really important. Okay, I'm not for mass immigration. I'm not. Okay, we can't support the people we have here now. But I'm also not for putting people on an island without any rights or recourse to justice. So what's the problem there? Well, the problem, we have to look back, and this is why I believe the enemy are the globalists. It's not the left or the right, because the globalists went in, Murdoch, Rothschild, Cheney, all of them, for Genie oil and gas to Syria and bombed the crap out of Syria. They don't have a city left, and they're very angry. If Muslims flew jets above Brisbane and bombed our kids, and we ended up in their country in a concentration camp, we'd want to murder them too. It's manufactured hate. And the globalists are doing a very good job at pitching us against them. Now, I'm not saying there isn't bloody bad terrorists out there. There absolutely is. And the CIA is financing them. And that's the problem. And we have hard proof to show that the CIA is financing them. Look at the BBC Raqqa's Dirty Secret. RAQQA, Raqqa's Dirty Secret. BBC article that the CIA and the coalition allowed the most battle-hardened ISIS fighters, when they were pinned into Raqqa, out in a 10-mile long, in a 3-4 kilometre long convoy, and out of Syria, fully armed.
It's crazy, eh?
And yet we, as just everyday Aussies, get absolutely accosted at an airport. Okay, my mum was just talking today. I dropped her at the airport, being accosted every time she goes through for bomb scans. So they're going to bomb scan my 60-year-old mum, but they're going to let the terrorists out of Raqqa, because then we need an enemy. The globalists need an enemy. The globalists like the dispersion of Muslim and values that don't gel with Western values into the Western world. It's manufactured hate. It's manufactured war, because destabilisation of Western civilization is in their best interests, because they want to cull the population.
Yeah, they do.
That's the problem.
That must be something to do with it.
I
could never understand, like, I always think of Obama, and he was so loving and kind to Muslims, yet he bombed the fuck out of every second Muslim country.
Exactly.
So the guy, like, at least Donald Trump, he's a bit of a rough around there. You know, he talks a bit of crap.
Yep.
We all agree, yes. But I tell you what, I think when he says it, that's it. I don't think he's saying one thing, like, I love Muslims, and bombing the fuck out of every second country.
And that was the mandate to destabilise and disperse the Middle Eastern population into the Western world, and look at what's happening as a result.
It's not good for them, it's not good for us.
So that's where to me, the solution isn't, well, let's let all the immigrants in. We know that's not a solution. But the solution also isn't to keep them locked up for just literally being refugees. So this is where the left has a point. But this is where, if the left and right came together and went, hang on a minute, it's the guys who bombed them for a war for Genie oil and gas and for fossil fuel control and energy national security and the CIA's drug and human trafficking supply chains, that we might actually get somewhere if we were a sovereign country and stood up to these globalist bullies. The trouble is, we haven't had a Prime Minister who's done that. Where's our Prime Minister who's done that? And I think the reality that we're seeing in the United States at the moment is Donald Trump is a president who is doing that, because he's going off narrative. That's why Hollywood hates him. That's why the UN hates him. That's why all of the mainstream sort of hates, well, the mainstream in terms of the Marxist left and the libtards. But yeah, I mean, I think we're a very strong movement, and the reality is we are on the front foot. You can feel that today. They're well on the back foot, these people. Yeah. Because they're dumb.
And we've got to keep, like, obviously there's multiple issues and multiple levels to fix all this. And I think, like, we're having the conversation. These people are trying to shut down the conversation. And, like, you're a guy, you're here, you're like, I see this problem, that problem, let's talk about it. Yeah. Not everyone here would 100% agree. That's insane to even think that.
That's
you know
fine.
what I mean?
That's called democracy.
I mean, like, let's have the conversation, man.
Exactly.
And then we can identify the problem.
Yep.
Then we can put pressure on and see positive change.
Yeah.
And then we're all learning and reflecting and looking for the truth. So isn't that what we're supposed to be doing here?
100%. In a mature and civilised way. And what we find with the argument for the left is there's no maturity and there's no civilised debate. There's just name-calling and ad hominem attacks. Yeah. And it's very childish, you know.
And we've got to recognise that and then say, like, hang on, look at these issues like this safe school stuff. Yep. And we've got to keep the pressure on. Like, this is the second rally this year on this topic. Yep. And it's sort of like there's an election coming up. We've got to keep this fresh in the minds of the voter. Yep. We've got to be aware of this topic and many others. Because there's going to be heaps of rallies, heaps more.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I do see that this Unsafe Schools program is a symptom of the larger globalisation illness. So for me, my work going forward again is holding the globalists accountable for major drug trafficking through Australia, because by identifying the political actors and players in that, we begin to identify those individuals who don't have Australia and the Australian people's interests and Australian law and the Australian Constitution's interests at heart. So to me, the Nugan Hand Bank and the CIA drug trafficking is a very convenient example of where people, high-level ranking politicians, are flagrantly breaking the law by covering up the reality of CIA drug trafficking. With irrefutable proof that we have. And if we were to do that, this drug trafficking connects to their off-balance accounts. So how do you take out the enemy? Well, you go after their money. You don't go after the man, because there'll always be another head to the serpent. You go after the money.
Follow the money, man.
Follow
it's
the money.
The root of all evil.
Follow the money.
Jesus said it, and it seems to be true.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus was flipping. The only time he lost his temper was when he was flipping, as the Bible says, when he flipped over the tables of the money changers. And what are the money changers today? They're the central banking system run by the Rothschilds. And this is the deep state I'm talking about. They've got so much money, they make government, prime ministers and presidents look like a game of marbles. They've got thousands of trillions of dollars.
Follow the money, find the corruption, and then we can identify the...
100%, Dusty.
Yeah. Mate, thank you once again.
Pleasure,
Cheers.
mate. Pleasure. Thanks for the interview.
Legend.